Have you ever felt that the life you are living is not truly your own, as though you were reading from a script that someone else wrote? Your parents, your teachers, your friends, the society you were born into. And somewhere beneath it all, a quiet voice that insists something is wrong. You wake each morning and put on the same mask. You meet your obligations. You speak with people as if everything is in order. But then, when the noise finally falls away and the silence comes, that uncomfortable question rises. Who am I, really? This feeling of disconnection is no accident. I came to see it as the symptom of a deep problem that almost no one has the courage to face. Most people pass through their entire lives without ever meeting their true selves. They live out social roles, manufactured identities, the expectations handed to them. And the cruelest part is that they believe this is all there is. They die without ever having known their own soul. So now the question that matters most. Is this happening to you? The thing you call yourself, your personality, your desires, your beliefs, how much of it is truly yours? And how much was placed inside you by others? From childhood you were conditioned to fit in, to make yourself acceptable, to hide certain parts of yourself in order to be loved. And so you built a mask. I called it the persona, a disguise you wear to protect yourself. But the longer you wear it, the further you drift from who you actually are, until one day the mask is all that remains. And living cut off from your true nature carries a cost. It is paid in quiet anguish, in dissatisfaction, in the constant sense that something essential is missing. Have you noticed that no matter what you achieve, an emptiness remains, as if the thing you truly need is always just out of reach? That is because what you need was never out there. Not in a better position, not in a perfect relationship, not in the approval of others. It is within you, buried beneath layer upon layer of conditioning. So the real question is this: are you willing to descend into your own psyche and discover who you truly are? Because this journey is not gentle. To find your true self, you must face everything that was repressed, forgotten, or twisted out of shape across the years. It means turning inward, toward the parts of you that you would rather avoid. But it is also the only road to freedom. What we are going to walk through is the journey I called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of gathering every part of yourself and at last living from your own essence. So, let us begin. From your earliest years, you learned that to be accepted, you had to behave in certain ways. Perhaps you were taught to be polite, to keep your voice down, never to show anger, always to please. Or perhaps you learned the opposite, that you had to be strong at all times, to hide every weakness, to look certain even while doubt filled you inside. And without ever realizing it, you began to build an identity that was not entirely yours, but a reflection of what the world expected you to be. This mask I called the persona. It is the face you show the world, the version of yourself you constructed in order to fit. Do not imagine you are unusual in this. We all have one. If you have ever behaved differently at work than at home, differently with friends than alone, differently still in the images you show on a screen, then you already know the power of the persona. Is it useful? Of course. Without it, we could not move among other people at all. But there is a great danger hidden inside it. When you identify completely with the mask, you begin to forget who is wearing it. Consider for a moment. How many times have you said something only to be accepted? How many times have you hidden what you truly thought out of fear of being judged? How many times have you caught yourself smiling while inside you wanted to scream? This happens because at some point the persona stopped being a role you play and became the thing that runs your life. You are no longer an authentic individual, but a character, performing a part you never consciously chose. And here is the trouble. The persona cannot nourish your soul. It can win you acceptance, but never fulfillment. It can earn you compliments, but never a genuine happiness. Live by the mask alone, and in time you arrive at an empty life, certain that something vital is missing and unable to name what it is. But if the persona is not your true self, then who are you? To answer that, we must turn to the other side, to the part of you that was pushed down into the dark. If this is reaching something in you, subscribe to this channel so the rest of this journey can find you. If the persona is the mask you wear to be accepted, then the shadow is everything you hide in order not to be rejected. And here lies the problem. What you repress does not vanish. It does the opposite. It gathers strength down in the unconscious, working in the dark of your mind, shaping your emotions, your fears, even the choices you make, without your ever seeing its hand. I describe the shadow as the hidden side of the psyche, made of everything repressed across a lifetime. Forbidden desires, swallowed anger, weaknesses you will not admit, wounds you tried to forget. And here is what is worse and stranger. Much of what lives in your shadow is not bad at all. It is simply the parts of you that someone, at some point, declared unacceptable. Perhaps as a child, you were full of curiosity and were called a nuisance and learned to go quiet. Perhaps you felt anger rise and were told it was wrong, so now you swallow your frustration until it finally erupts. Perhaps you showed tenderness and the world convinced you it was weakness, so you learn to hide what you feel. All of it, every denied part, did not disappear. It only hid and waited. And it does come out if you have ever burst into anger and regretted it the moment after, felt envy and denied it even to yourself, or reacted to a small criticism far more violently than it deserved. Then you have felt your shadow take the wheel. When we refuse to deal with it consciously, it forces its way out sideways, sabotaging our relationships, our work, our sense of our own worth. But here is the truth no one tells you. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is the very place where so many of your most valuable qualities are buried. Your creativity, your authenticity, your real strength. You cannot become whole until you reclaim this part of yourself, and to do that, you must stop running and turn toward it. If the persona is the mask, and the shadow is everything you buried, then the self, the true self, is what lies beyond both of these layers. It is the totality of your psyche, the honest meeting between who you truly are and who you show to the world. I came to believe that the purpose of a human life is not to walk the path society laid out in advance, but to become whole, to find your own essence, and to live by it. This long work of discovery and integration is what I called individuation. But the self does not arrive by chance. It does not appear one morning like some bright vision. It does not reveal itself to those unwilling to face the truth about who they are. You must seek it, and the search demands a deep descent inward, a confrontation with everything you were taught to hide, a reconciliation between your most honest desires and the restrictions the outside world pressed onto you. And the greatest obstacle on this road is fear. The fear of losing the identity you spent years building. The fear of discovering that many of your choices were never truly yours. The fear of facing the parts of yourself you have denied for so long. It is this fear that keeps most people from ever finding the self. They spend their lives clutching the persona, pretending to be what they are not, while the shadow works behind the curtain, quietly ruining their chance at a real happiness. But when you begin to take back your shadow and to question the masks you wear, something remarkable happens. You feel a freedom you have never known. You no longer need to pretend. You no longer need to please everyone. You begin to act from what is real in you, to make the choices that fit your own nature rather than the expectations of others. And here is the part that surprises people most. The closer you come to yourself, the more your life begins to make sense. The anxieties and frustrations that once seemed to have no cause begin to show their roots. You understand why certain patterns keep repeating, why certain situations cut so deep, why certain relationships never worked. You start to see that all along, something inside you was trying to show you the way, but you were too busy fitting in to listen. But this descent cannot be made by looking only at the surface. The human mind is far more than what we see and consciously understand. Most of the psyche is hidden, working at a level too deep for the daylight of reason. And beneath your own personal shadow, beneath the repressed memories and the disowned desires, there is something older still. I discovered that the human psyche is not a blank page. We are born already carrying universal structures, patterns of thought and feeling and behavior shared by every human being in every culture, in every age. I called this the collective unconscious, and out of it rise the archetypes, primordial images that shape how we see the world and ourselves. If you have ever felt yourself inexplicably moved by a certain story, a certain myth, a certain symbol, it is because an archetype is stirring inside you. They live in our fairy tales, our films, our religions, and most of all, in our dreams and our behavior. There is the hero who faces the trial, overcomes the obstacle, and is transformed. There is the wise one who turns toward knowledge and inner reflection. There is the rebel who challenges the rules and questions the whole order of things. There is the caregiver who lives to protect and to serve. And here is what matters. You do not choose which of these moves through you. They act within you, beneath your awareness. The danger arrives when you identify with only one of them and ignore the rest. Live only as the hero, and you may feel forever pressured to be strong, unable to allow yourself any weakness or fear. Live only as the caregiver, and you may spend your whole life placing everyone else above yourself until you have forgotten that you exist at all. To find your true self is to bring these forces into balance, to recognize which archetypes dominate your life and to reclaim the ones you have neglected. And if you never become aware of them, they govern you. They decide your behavior, your insecurities, your relationships, your very crises from the shadows. But the moment you recognize and integrate them, you take back the authorship of your own story. That is exactly what separates the one who finds their true self from the one who spends a lifetime trapped in patterns they never chose. So what becomes of the person who refuses all of this, who spends their life fleeing themselves, ignoring the shadow, imprisoned in the persona, denying the forces that shape their fate? I was always clear on this. To avoid the work of becoming whole does not keep you safe. It condemns you to a fragmented existence, filled with anxiety, with frustration, with an emptiness that nothing outside you will ever fill. Many believe that following the rules, fitting neatly into what is expected, will buy them a peaceful life. But that peace is only on the surface. Sooner or later, something begins to go wrong. It may come as an emotional crisis with no clear cause, as a dissatisfaction that lingers even when everything looks perfect, even as illness in the body, for the body and the mind always find ways to sound the alarm when we have strayed too far from our own nature. And when the suffering is deep or will not lift, this inner work belongs beside the help of a good physician, not in place of it. I was a doctor first, and I would never send a person to face their own depths entirely alone. Non-individuation shows itself in destructive patterns. Have you seen how some people repeat the same mistakes for their entire lives? How they walk into the same painful relationships, sabotage their own success, live in a permanent state of discontent? This is what happens when we leave what is hidden inside us untouched. We become prisoners of our own unconscious, and it finds a way to speak, even if the only language left to it is suffering. It shows itself too in the quiet sense that you are merely existing and not truly living. A monotonous routine, a life without purpose, the feeling of drifting with the current with no direction of your own. This is the reality for a great many people who never once stop to ask whether the life they are living is the one they actually chose. And the most dangerous of all is resentment. When a person ignores who they truly are, anger gathers in them, though they rarely know its true source. They may turn it outward, blaming the world, the system, their family, their society for their pain. Or they may turn it inward, where it can harden into despair, into self-sabotage, into a deep estrangement from their own life. But there is a way out. There is a way to break the cycle and walk free of this invisible prison. And it lies in the courage to face the truth, to question your own illusions, and to seek the path of becoming whole. Finding your true self is not a destination, it is a process. It does not happen overnight, as though you might wake one morning and simply know exactly who you are. It is the work of a lifetime, a path of discovery, of taking apart and of building again, of facing your shadows and freeing yourself from the masks that were laid upon you. And it is a path that few choose to walk. Most prefer the safety of conformity. They cling to their personas, certain that without them they would be cast out. They refuse to look at their shadows, afraid of what they might find. They ignore the forces that move them, unwilling to admit they are not as in control as they would like to believe. But that fear has a price. An empty existence, without authenticity, without depth, without real meaning. I tried to show, across my whole life, that true freedom is not found in fitting in. It is found in becoming who you truly are. And that means accepting your wholeness, your gifts and your flaws, your light and your darkness, both. It means taking hold of your own life rather than remaining a product of your surroundings, your culture, the expectations of others. It means setting down the role of the puppet and becoming the author of your own story. But this road asks for courage. The courage to release the illusions that have been comfortable for so long. the courage to face your own fears, the courage to accept that you may not be who you thought you were, and that this is not a loss, it is an opening. Because now you have the chance to become someone far greater, far more authentic, far more alive. So I ask you, are you ready for this? Are you willing to question the stories you were told about who you are? To face the parts of yourself that were buried? To live, at last, from your own essence? Tell me in the comments, which part of this struck you the deepest? Have you ever felt that you were living an identity that was never truly yours? Say it in your own words, because to name it is already to begin loosening its hold. And stay for the next video. This discovery is only beginning, and there is more of the hidden machinery of your own mind still to understand.